Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog at stampwithelaine.com. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas and Boxing Day. Today I've got a fun fold card for you, and it's made from products in the forthcoming mini catalogue, which begins on the January 5th up till the April in 2023. For 2 months at the beginning of the year, from 5th January to 28th February, there will be an annual event of celebration. This is the time of year when you spend £45. Stamping Up will give you something free from the catalogue or the brochure in celebration. There are 2 items, £90 spend. You can either earn a stamp set or a pack of bumper papers with 48 12 by 12 inch sheets. So I got this pack for free. These are the papers. It's free with a £90 spend, and they're called Dandy Designs, and they'll be available while stocks last from the 5th of January to the 28th of February. They're all lovely spring colours, and they are balmy blue, calypso coral, fresh freesia, granny apple green, mango melody and petal pink. I chose to use this paper because there was such a lot of it, and the project that we're going to make today is a fun fold card, which is an interlocking accordion card, and it needs quite a lot of designer series paper. So we're using these 2 designs. I'm not able to show you what's inside the pages of the January to April mini, but this is the bundle, the stamp set and dies, which is part of the By the Bay Suite collection, and if you make a note of it, it'll be on page 22 to 23 in the new mini. So this is the stamp set, and these are the dies. In the collection, these are the By the Bay 6 by 6 inch specialty designer series papers. There are 4 each of 12 double-sided designs, so that's sort of got shiny foil on the other side and gold flecks. I chose not to use this paper for my project because with only 4 sheets of each design there just wasn't enough. So that's why I used the celebration freebie. So this is the accordion fold, and I've threaded a ribbon through it so that you can tie it when it's open, and it's not stuck down, so that the ribbon can run freely, because when you close it you need to tighten it, but when you open it the ribbon needs to be able to expand. The thing you have to be careful about is not allowing the ribbon to become detached. In other words, you know, this pulls through and then we're really stuck, because this has got dimensionals on the 4 corners, and it's really difficult to get the ribbon through without taking the whole lot off. Now, this card isn't difficult, but it is time consuming, so it's a sort of project you can do on a rainy afternoon when you're not going anywhere. I wouldn't recommend posting this. You might have to pay extra postage. I would hand deliver this or put it in with a present. And the thing I like about it is that when you open it, the clamshell will open and reveal the flat pearl inside. The card base has been extended, so each panel is 4 inches wide, so you have to put an extension on, and the overall width of the card is 16 inches by 5 3/4 inches. This ribbon is also from the collection. It's a variegated ribbon in balmy blue, and it's very soft and easy to work with. That's part of the collection as well. So it's 1/2 inch wide, which is 1.3 centimeters, and there's 10 yards in a spool, or 9.1 meters. Now, to make this card, you need some additional supplies. You need the stitched rectangle dies, and they have to be nested dies so that you can cut a size up. Now, this is number 5, counting from the smallest to the largest. This will be 1 being the smallest. This will be 5 and 6. The additional specialty paper you need is brushed metallic gold foil. I think these comes in 3 colours: the copper, the gold and the copper. A champagne gold, I think. This is gold, and that's a more muted gold. We'll need some scrap of the gold foil, and we'll also need this distressed gold paper. I did try to cut the entire clamshell out of this, but when you die cut it and emboss it, a lot of the detail is lost using this type of specialty paper, so you really need the foil. Now, you really need a 12 by 12 inch sheet of paper. Unfortunately, with the coloured cardstock, they only come in assortment packs, and there's only 2 sheets of each. So if you're trying to use this as a card for a funful class, then I suggest you just buy a packet of 12 by 12 basic white cardstock, and there are 12 sheets in this, and you can cut 2 cards out of a 12 by 12 inch sheet, so it will be 5 3/4 by 12, and then you'll have a little bit left over which you can discard. For your extension piece, you can then use your basic white cardstock and cut a piece that's 4 1/2 by 5 3/4. Then on the long side, you score at 4 inches and 8 inches. And in metric, you'll be scoring that at 10 centimeters and 20 centimeters. Then for your extension piece, that will also be in basic white, and that will be cut at 4 1/2 by 5 3/4. On the short side, you score at 1/2 inch, and in metric that will be 1.5 centimeters. Then for your interlocking piece, for the inside that goes in here, you need 2 pieces of balmy blue. Now, one is 3 1/4 inches by 8 1/2 inches, which is 8.5 centimeters by 21.5 centimeters, and the other one is 3 1/4 inches by 9 inches, which is 8.5 centimeters by 23 centimeters. On the 8 1/2 inch piece, you score on the long side at 2 3/4 inches and 5 1/2 inches. In metric, that will be 7 centimeters and 14 centimeters. Then for the 9 inch piece, you score at 2 3/4 inches, 5 1/2 inches, and 8 1/2 inches. In metric, that will be 7 centimeters, 14 centimeters, and 21.5 centimeters. Then you will need 5 pieces of the same design for the white piece of cardstock. So this is the larger of the 2, okay? And all these measure 5 1/2 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So that's 14 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters. So 4 of them will be for the inside of the card. See that 4 will go on the inside. Then for the smaller interlocking panels, you need a second pattern of paper, and you want a fairly nondescript one so it doesn't clash with your scenery. So you need 4 pieces in pattern B, cut at 2.5 inches by 3 inches, which is 6.5 by 7.5 centimeters, and then 2 slightly larger in the same pattern, and these will be 2 3/4 inches by 3 inches, so that's 7 centimeters by 7.5 centimeters. First, we're going to burnish the score lines on the card base, which is this 5 3/4 by 12 inches, and in metric that will be 14.5 by 30 centimeters. Now, if that's your front, okay, then these are the 2, the second and third panels that you want to cut. So we're going to take the smaller number 5 of the stitched rectangle dies, angle dies. Do it by eye, but if you prefer more accuracy, then you can always measure it and make sure it is in the center. So it's roughly just under 5/8 of an inch. Now, I did try to take a shortcut and folded these 2 panels down and then die cut them both at the same time, but it didn't work out because what happened was that one panel appeared wider than the other, so it was uneven. So shortcuts in this instance is not advisable. Put it in my sandwich, and it'll have to go in sideways like that, because otherwise the card won't fit. And I shall run that through the machine and I'll be back. Before you take it off the die off the cardstock, you might want to draw a line across so that you've got it in roughly the same position. You can rub the pencil lines off later. Okay, lift that up. Right, you've got the markers on the top and bottom, but now you want to make sure that it's equidistant from the score line here and the edge of the card there. Pop that down again and I'll run it through the machine. Now don't throw these away, you're going to need it for your card later on. Now take your designer series paper, flip the card to rub off the pencil marks here. This is the side you want showing, so you need to flip it over so it's upside down and then line it up in your panel. I'm going to use some post-it notes to make sure that this is stuck down and it won't move while I turn the paper back to the right side. Then I shall use a pencil, trace round the frame, and that gives me a guideline as to where to place my larger die, the nested die, which will be the number 6 die, over this rectangle. I've used the pencil guidelines that I traced to centre the larger die over it, and I'll go and die cut that off camera. Now don't discard that, you can use it for another project. Now I'm going to glue that down because sometimes each individual one is slightly different. So you want an exact match. You don't want to mix up the two. So that's why I'm gluing it down straight away. Okay, that's one done. I'll repeat for this one and speed it up. Now we can join this piece to this piece. So run a stamp and seal. along this edge. And butt it up to the score line. Make sure that the top and the bottom is flush with each other before you stick it down properly. Then you can glue these two pieces on the end. You also need two balmy blue pieces for the front and back of the main card base, and this also measures 5.5 by 3 3/4 inches, so in metric that will be 14 centimeters by 9.5. You want to glue this piece to the balmy blue to give it some added stability. So you want to put the dimensionals in the four corners on both of these. So now you want to put the ribbon on, and you want to make sure it's long enough to tie at the end. I'd say this is about 30 inches length of ribbon, which is roughly about 75 centimeters worth of ribbon. So we'll set that aside temporarily with the internal pieces. Burnish our score lines. So take the shorter piece, and this fold is a valley fold, and the next one is a mountain fold. Now the two middle panels are actually wider, slightly wider, so you want to put pound tape on here. And actually I can trim this off. If I'm using this stamp and seal, then I'll need it wider so that the runner will be able to run through that 1/2 inch piece. But if I'm using tear and tape, then I can cut it down to fit. So we want this in the back, and marry it up. Make sure that the top and bottom is together, like so. And there you have it. Mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain. So this piece will jut out, so that's wider, and that's where you want to adhere your two wider pieces of designer series paper. This is a 2 3/4 inch piece. So those two go in the middle, and then these four 2.5 inch ones will go on the end panels. Now bring back my main card, so pick it up from the middle where the wider panel is, like so, okay, and put it through the middle, and you want this equidistant from the top here and top there. Okay, so now we're going to fold it so that the two cardboard sides are showing our face up. So now we want to put adhesive on the end panel, just on the blue bit, and close this over it. Hold it there and wait until it bonds. Then flip it over, open that up, make sure this is down, and put adhesive on the inside here. Okay, so you just want a bit of adhesive on the ends here. Make sure it sticks down. Like so. And there you have the inside of your card. So that's the mechanics done. We can't really glue the ribbon down. So let's pop this over and say that's about halfway. And get something heavy to keep that down. And I'm just going to put dimensionals to create like a track for the ribbon to run through. Then remember these two pieces of card. And you had the four corners there. So now we can take off the backing tape from here. Take off the backing tape from the four corners here. And centre it, leaving an even border all round. Okay. Now you want to be careful you don't allow the ribbon to run through to the other side. So you do the same on this side. And voila, your ribbon is secure. Then when you shut the card, you're still able to pull that through so you can tie it. Now to stop the ribbon, maybe from going through, I'm just going to tie a knot, a loose knot. Remember the two die cuts you did for this apertures here? You can now put them on the front and on the back, but you need to stamp on it first. The inks I'm using are Sahara Sand, Night of Navy and Blushing Bride, and I'll also need the Mint Macaron blending pens. I'm using my Stamparatus to help me stamp. These panels down the bottom here, 2.5 inches, and these two middle panels are 2 3/4 inches. So I've cut a strip of cardstock that's 2 3/4 inches long. And let me remove the pad because the stamps are cling. This stamp here. The other item I need for embellishing with is the flat adhesive back pearls. These are new. So I'm going to centre my stamp on here, like so. I've put an ink pad next to the lid so that the platform can rest on that while I ink up the stamp. And I'm going to just hinge stamp all the way down. So I need 6 for the front. And for the front of the card, I stamp one directly onto these. So I'm going to stamp that on the bottom. Now I'm going to fussy cut this around. There are all my pieces cut. Then bring in my trimmer and I'm just going to trim the bottoms off. So now I want to glue the 2.5-inch pieces to the two end panels and do it on the bottom. Leave the top unglued so you can tuck things behind it. These two are the 2 3/4-inch ones. Then you want to stamp some extras. So I'm stamping a couple in Sahara Sand, a couple in Blushing Bride, a crab in Blushing Bride, trio of birds, the big bird, last of all, clamshell with a pearl in the middle. Now we need to do some die cutting. So I'm going to cut a clamshell out of the gold foil, and I'm also going to cut one out of this distressed gold paper. There's my 2 clamshells. Then I'll need to cut a pair of smaller shells and a medium-sized one in the gold foil. I need to die cut all the rest. I've secured it with washi tape so that it won't move. My standard cutting plate is the platform 1, thin die adapter platform 2, one of the platform 3s, cardstock followed by die with cutting edge face down, and a second platform 3. So I'll do that off camera and I'll be back. That's how I decorated my scene. You can choose to do whatever you want. This goes on the front, and I need to stamp a greeting on it before I glue it onto the card front. Now this is another sneak peek. It's a photopolymer stamp and it's called Best Family Ever, and it's got all your relatives from grandpa, grandma, in-laws, great-grandma, great-grandpa, or whatever it is you want to use. And then on the bottom there are fonts in script with phrases, so you can build your own phrase. Now I think I'm going to change that, and I'm going to put happy birthday because I'm making it as a card for my mum. So I'm going to ink it up in balmy blue, switch that round and stamp mum. So what I like about this is that whichever side of the pond you're on, if you're American or in the States or Canada, most people will say mom, but in UK and Australia we say mum. Bring my card back, and now I can start layering and gluing all the decorative elements down. Glue this to the card front, leaving an even border all round. And I'm just using glue dots. It's already bulky enough as it is, and it'll probably cost me an arm and a leg to send this to Australia. But I've only got one mum and she's worth it. Now for this one, I'm going to glue this on the back and snip off part of it. Then I'm going to try and curl this a bit and stick that on the bottom to the card round about there. Bring in my pearls in the middle here. Now for these fronds, I'm going to use my mint macaron to colour these in on the larger fronds, and the light mint macaron on the smaller ones. Now I'm going to build up my scene, so I'm just going to put a bit of adhesive on the bottom and tuck this in so it goes inside there. And I'll take one of the lighter ones and put that there. I'm going to put a mollusk inside, just with a glue dot. On this second panel, I'm just going to pop the big bird on. On the third one, I'm just going to put a little bird just here. I forgot to stamp some extra sand. I can't have this bird walking on air, so I'll fussy cut that. So now I'm going to put glue dots on these and glue them to the fifth panel. And I put a little mini dimensional on this gold one that goes in the front. Last panel, some seaweed. Lift that up. Just some glue on the back of the crab. And that's the inside finished. Now we'll do the back. To stamp on the back of this piece here. Glue it onto the back of the card. More or less in the middle, leaving an even border all round. And then lastly, glue this on. So voila, the card is finished. So this is the birthday card I'm going to be sending my mum, and that's the back. And then of course you have your accordion fold, like so. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Like I said, it's not difficult, but it's just time consuming. I enjoyed making this, especially if it's a rainy day or it's cold outside. So thanks for joining me today. And this is the Seaside Bay bundle, which is a sneak peek from the forthcoming January to April 2023 mini. Thanks for watching. Bye.